So thank you so much for joining me today and offering to share your story. Can you start with telling me your name, please?
My name is Vikas Rewoo. I am 48 years old. I was 11 when I left Kashmir.
Yeah. And what place were you born in Kashmir?
I was born in downtown Srinagar, place called Nai Sadak.
And at that time, what was your family's occupation or main livelihood when you lived in Kashmir?
My dad was a telecom engineer. He used to work for Department of Telecom, which is called Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited these days. But he used to work as a telecom engineer. My grandfather was a physician. My mother was a homemaker. And we had a joint family. And my uncle, he used to work for Punjab National Bank. And my aunt, who was a teacher.
So, can you describe like your lifestyle in Kashmir before you had to leave, like the community that you lived in or like the neighborhood you lived in?
So we had a joint family in Kashmir. When I was born in Srinagar, downtown downtown Srinagar, as I told you, Nai Sadak, a place called. And then we moved to suburban Srinagar called a place called Chandpora, and where we had a joint family. Uh, we the when we were in the Nai Sadak area, we had an extended joint family. So there were three houses with my grandfather's brothers, everybody kind of living separately in their own houses, but there was a feeling of kind of community and family, everyone living together. When we moved to Chandpura, it was my dad and his younger brother and my grandfather. We all moved together to a new place because the family was expanding, and the house where we were in was not enough for the ever expanding family. Community wise, we used to live in a colony called Khan Colony, which was a mixture of Kashmiri Pandits, a lot of them, and Kashmiri Muslims as well. We moved to that place in 1983, 84-ish, if I remember. And I mean, community-wise, I mean, Kashmir had that feeling of, we never felt that there is an explosion happening or going to happen at some point of time. Nobody had a clue. Uh, we, my dad used to work in telecom, we were the only household in the whole place who had a telephone. Yeah, we had a phone, a landline, and our house was kind of a community meeting point in terms of our home phone number was with everyone in the place, and anybody and everybody who had to receive a call used to come to our place. So I would say the whole environment was always kind of friendly, but it always had that undercurrents of pro-Pakistani sentiment, as in when Pakistan used to win the match, they used to come and bang our doors, they used to shout and they used to scream, they as in Kashmiri Muslims. But on and overall, it was kind of okay to live in that place. There was a sense of community, as in everybody was helpful, everybody was nice to each other. As I said earlier, nobody knew what the undercurrent is.
And how was your school life like in Kashmir?
Fantastic. My school life was superb. I used to go to a school called Walden. Uh, Walden was in a place called Nattipura. So we used to go to school in a bus every morning, 9, 9 to 3 o'clock, and then come back. Fantastic school, great teachers. Our school, I must say, was way ahead of the time. Fully academic school. The only emphasis in the school was on education, education, education. Had a mix of Kashmiri Pandits and Muslims as well. Our teachers were mostly Kashmiri Pandits. Uh, when I say our school was ahead of time, when I was in class three, I would remember or I knew every bone in my body I knew what a heart is, what the function of the heart is, how many chambers does the heart has, what is the endocrine gland. Look, I still remember this when I'm 48. But yeah, schooling was absolutely fantastic.
So, like, which year did you leave Kashmir, and like, do you like what was like how did you have to leave Kashmir? Like, what was the situation surrounding that?
We left Kashmir in 1990. I left. I was. I was at the age when I kind of understood what's going in and around us. My dad, as I told you, used to work in Department of Telecom. One of his close friends, he was killed. If you know, there was a his name was Mr. B.K. Ganju. He was a telecom engineer. He was shot in the drum, and my dad used to work very closely with him. When he was killed, my dad was asked by the telecom department that he cannot go back to home now. He has to stay in the office, and this was 1990, yeah. And that's when we decided we had to leave. And since I was the eldest of the kids in the house, I was kind of taking too much of stress about all of what's happening in and around. So I left. I flew to Jammu because I was suffering, and my rest of my family, they escaped in a in a BSNL or a BSF kind of that truck which came in, and my mom and my uncle, they left with some things which they could gather in other smaller truck. And my dad joined us later in Jammu because he was still in his office. He was not allowed to go home or venture out, but he left. It was April of 1990 when we left Kashmir. I left earlier, as I told you, but my rest of my family kind of left in two different uh, batches, if I may call it. My grandparents and my my brothers and my uncle and aunt and then my mother and my uncle, they left separately because they had to carry some stuff with them to Jammu.
So, did you leave alone, or did you like have some of your
So
family?
I left with one of my dad's friends because I took a flight from Srinagar to Jammu. Yeah, because I was kind of not that I'd gone mental or something, but I was taking too much of stress about what's happening in and around, where my father is. Is he safe? Is he going to come back safely back home? When are we leaving Kashmir? That kind of stuff.
So your father, like basically he couldn't come home. He was just staying
Yeah,
in.
he was in telecom exchange there, his office for close to 3 weeks, I think. He
Oh.
just he didn't come home. We sent him his clothes, his other stuff. It was not just him. It was whole of department, and most of the Kashmiri Pandits who were working with him or who used to work for Department of Telecom, they are all were asked to stay in the office, not go home, because those days they used to call them hit list, that these are the people whom we are going to kill. And unfortunately, his name was there as well. He was accused of some shit, something fabricated stuff, and then he was advised by the office people that, oh, no, we won't allow you. Not advised. He was asked to stay at office. So
So
I didn't see my father for close to month and a half. Kind of mentally, everybody was there that we have to leave at some point of time. Ours, we had decided that we would leave, but unfortunately for us, the weather those days was very bad, so we had to kind of keep on postponing our imminent exodus from Kashmir. So it was not sudden. We all had thought about it. Our whole the place where we used to stay was getting emptied every day. Yeah, people were leaving in the night, and nobody knew who is going to leave next. So I wouldn't say it was kind of sudden. It was we had kind of thought and decided about it, and the first opportunity we got, we left.
so after you left, you moved to Jammu. So how was like how was life in Jammu? Like, how was readjusting and changing?
Pathetic, horrible, horrible, pathetic, hot, absolutely hostile environment in terms of weather and initially initially the people as well. I don't think Kashmiris were accepted as in the way they should have been. Yeah, nobody understood what we had gone through and the circumstances we had left. So it was hostile. It was absolutely pathetic. We used to live in a huge house in Kashmir, and finally, when we landed in Jammu, we all were staying in a single room. Our joint family had to kind of become a nuclear family because we couldn't, there was not enough space for all of us to stay at one place. So we moved from one place to other place. We didn't, I mean, we were fortunate enough not to stay in those camps and all. We rented a place, and my uncle and his family kind of stayed at one house, and we in a different place. My grandparents were sometimes with my uncle and sometimes with us. So we suffered quite a lot, actually, to be honest, because there was the I don't think we nobody had seen that kind of heat in their life. Yeah, so we had to adjust to that. We had to adjust to a new language. We had to adjust to a new culture, basically a new way of living. So it took a lot, and our schooling suffered as well. We were used to a way of kind of schooling that got disrupted as well. We used to live in small, pathetic one rooms which had kitchen and which had we had to share a bathroom with five or six other families, which we had never done in our life. So basically, a generation, my parents' generation, they lost their prime youth, yeah, because they were pretty young those days. And my generation and my maybe younger generation as well, we lost our childhood. We. I mean, I always say this to my parents that the day we landed in Jammu, I was a grown-up man, not a 12-year-old boy. Yeah, because we all had to take responsibility of, okay, what's going to happen next? Where are we? What's the final place where we'll be staying? How do we manage the school? Blah blah blah. So yeah, it was struggle. It was struggle.
So, like, how did leaving affect you personally? Because you were a child then, and you only lived 11 or 12 years in Kashmir. So, like, basically, like, your childhood life getting disrupted, how did that affect you, and like, how did that shape your feelings towards Kashmir?
My feeling toward Kashmir, okay, let me put it this way. As I told you, I think my generation and others as well, we were all grown-ups when we landed in Jammu. So there was no child within me. Yeah, I think our senses in a way were numb because we were all in the survival mode. So nobody was thinking about how do I kind of enjoy my childhood, blah blah. So it was a sense of, okay, we have to adjust according to the way we are living, the way we were living those days. So to be honest with you, it's my personal experience. I don't have any recollection of those days, as in it was just day to day. Yeah, living in Jammu, trying to adjust to heat, struggle of going to school, coming back, and then when you come back to a shady place, one room where you had to manage your studies, where my dad, mom, and my grandparents were living as well. So that numbness kind of made us all very resilient as well. We were kind of Kashmiri Pandit as a community. I think one thing we should give to ourselves is that we are fighters in terms of we would never pick up a gun, but we know we are mentally strong enough to survive. So I think those days it was just survival, to be honest. Yeah, I spent 6 years in Jammu till I went to Mumbai for my engineering. But those 6 years were kind of uh, it was kind of survival and making something of your life because the what we had seen in Kashmir and kind of it most of us realized and we accepted the fact that we are not going to go back. So we always had that longing for Kashmir because I mean, we didn't lose our language. We were still closely tied to our culture, right? So that longing was always there. But I have never been to Kashmir. I left Kashmir in 96, sorry, 1990, and never been back.
Not
Never.
not even visited.
No, no, no,
What are some,
never.
like what are some things you miss the most about Kashmir, or like some memories you have?
This is a very funny question. I left when I was 11, right? So that was a time when I could have made memories.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I remember where I was born, the downtown Srinagar and the places around that. If you have heard of the name Ganpatiyar and other stuff, yeah. I mean, I don't. I remember those places when I was small. We used to go to the temple and we used to eat laddu and all. It was a fun place to play around. But besides that, to be honest, nothing. I had lived most of my adult life outside Kashmir, so I have memories of that place, but I don't have any memory of Kashmir. If you ask me, do I miss Kashmir? My culturally maybe yes, a bit of it, but no. 11 years. I mean, I was just kind of growing up.
Yeah. Like you
I
mentioned.
won't. I have no. I don't romanticize Kashmir if you
Mm.
know what I mean, right? Yeah. I belong. I was born there. Yes, I have that feeling about Kashmir. I get angry when stuff happens there. Yeah. But am I am am I am I emotionally kind of connected to Kashmir? I don't think those emotions ever developed.
So,
But I can still talk to Kashmiri. I'm very fluent.
mm,
Yeah, and I know my traditions, my culture. I'm aware of my culture. I want to keep that alive in whatever form I can.
yeah.
That's the best I can do.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that only. Like you'd mentioned that even after leaving, like you still, like your family still continued conversing in Kashmiri and like
Yeah.
following cultural practices. So like how difficult, or like how, I mean how difficult was it to like continue that, especially because like you're in a different place with like a totally unfamiliar culture. And
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
look, my generation, we still talk in Kashmiri, right? With my dad, with my extended family, my, but my, and I think my brother as well, he likes to talk in Kashmiri. But the people who were born in Jammu, I don't think most of them they understand Kashmiri, but they can't talk in Kashmiri. So for me, it was easy because I was kind of brought up in that culture where we spoke Kashmiri, and I made that conscious effort of talking with my extent, with my dad, mom, my uncle, aunt, everybody in Kashmiri. Yeah, I think that's the gender. I mean, but I give it to some people who have made it a point to teach their children. I mean, my daughter can't speak Kashmiri. Yeah, she can. She was born in Delhi and now we live in UK, so it's more distant. But she understands bits and pieces of it. But I didn't make any effort. That's my fault. Now I realize that she should have been. I could have taught her Kashmiri. She could have at least spoken bits and pieces of it. But the while in Jammu, the people who were born in Jammu, they naturally that's the science of language as well, right? The place where you live, you'll pick up that. But for me, it was since my primary mode of communication in Kashmir was Kashmiri, so I kept on doing it. But the later generation, I think they have lost touch with it. But I mean, our traditions part, I think, as and when you move away from something which is very dear to you, which is, I mean, in case of my parents and my grandparents, they became even more kind of rooted in their culture, right? When they came to Jammu, we started, not that we lost any of our cultural uh, inclinations. Yeah, it kind of reinforced it even more. So some of the things which we used to not do as often in Kashmir, yeah, those things started to take more prominence when we were in Jammu, right? Because they missed Kashmir, and that was their way of kind of being still rooted in Kashmir or not kind of losing out on their culture. So Kashmiri Pandits became overtly more religious. Yeah, we started. I mean, when I was in Kashmir, the only major festival we used to have was Shivratri, Herat, right? But now Kashmiris bloody they do each and everything which they had never heard of in Kashmir. But I think that's the generation. Yeah, but my generation, I think we all are trying our best to still be in touch with our culture. Yeah, we are trying as much as we can to let our children know about Kashmir and what it meant to be in Kashmir. But at the end of the day, they will have their own lives as well. Yeah. So, and culture can't be forced. So, yeah, I hope long answer to your short question.
No, it was a
Hope it
good
made
one.
sense.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask you, like I know you mentioned that you aren't like necessarily very like you haven't romanticized Kashmir like a lot of people have, but like if given the chance, would you ever go back there?
Yeah, I would go back. I would go back because I have this. I want to go back and revisit the places which are there in some part of my gray matter, right? But if you ask me if I want to go back and settle, the answer is big no. I will never go back. Yeah, because my life is different now.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, going back to Kashmir is another migration, right? Which and Kashmir, to be honest, if anybody tells you that, oh, I'll go back first opportunity, blah blah blah, they're lying to themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think any Kashmiri is ever going to go back. Kashmir for us is oh yeah, that's the place we were born. We have memories of the place. I would want to go back and maybe spend a couple of months there just to kind of go back and revisit my old memories before I'm too old not to go there. But that's pretty much it. I will not go back and kind of say, okay, I'll settle back in Kashmir. No.
I think yeah, those were the end of my questions. Thank you so much for
Brilliant. I hope
answering
this was
them.
useful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.